Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 519, Tropical Storm Autumn. It is 11:40 p.m. on September 23rd, 2024. I'm sorry, 2023, excuse me. And it is officially the first day of fall, first day of autumn, which is the absolute best time of the year. I love the fall, I love autumn the most of all the seasons. My favorite month is still October. Still got another weekend to go. Well, technically, next weekend is October 1st, but my show only has about one more weekend left in September because I'll probably be doing it on Saturday again. But yeah, that's what's going on. It's been a crazy first day of autumn here in the Mid-Atlantic. A tropical depression came up the coast and still kind of hitting us a little bit with some rain and wind. But as most weather stuff, the weather people freak out about it, and then when it gets to us, it kind of gets dud. I was expecting it to be like massive wind and flooding and huge amounts of rain all day, all the time, and possibility of electricity. That's what they were screaming about, yelling about. And where I was, we had waves where, early in the morning, we had a couple downpours, but then for the majority of the day, there was nothing, an occasional spot here and there. And we had some high winds, but nothing too major, not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then it hasn't really been that much. It's a soaking rain going on right now. So it's still raining right now as we speak. And it's supposed to still make its way through over the next day or so. So it should still be having some sort of effect on our weather tomorrow, Sunday. But the reason why I'm wearing this shirt, to quote Hamlet, is because it is was tropical storm Ophelia. So if you who read Hamlet, you know what that's all about. So that's why I decided to wear this shirt. But yeah, so what else is going on here? Oh, first, real quick, we may as well do this. This is the new Coke Y3000. It just came out. And I don't know much about it, but here we go. Smells like Coke. It's a fruit flavor to it. It's like a berry flavor. Yeah, so it's kind of some sort of berry. Let's say it tastes almost like a grape Coca-Cola. But there's a really strange aftertaste to it. One person reported as buttered popcorn. I don't see that. It's more earthy tones. There's a banana. Yeah, someone said a banana. That might be what it is. This is kind of a banana flavor almost. I think that's what it was. Yeah, it has a very distinct banana flavor to it. Not strong banana flavor, but there's definitely something there. It had a berry flavor for a while, but then as I'm drinking more and more of it, the banana, it's starting my mind, and maybe I'm tricking my mind into thinking that, but it's got a very banana sort of aftertaste to it. Now, apparently an AI helped create that flavor. Again, not one I would probably drink all the time. It's definitely unique. Don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's got kind of, as I said, it's got a berry banana sort of flavoring to it. So I guess that's okay. So it's still out there. This is the this is the regular version. They have a 0 sugar one as well. Yeah, it's kind of very banana-y flavor. So yeah, I will not let my wife try that because she does not like banana flavors. So, so that's what's going on. Yeah. So it is. So that was what that's all about. So that was the Y3000. It's out now. Still not found Mountain Dew Voodoo, which I'm dying to try. I'm keep hunting for it, and as soon as I find it, this will be the first place that I will try it out here. So yes, today was the first day of autumn, or as the I guess sort of the witch Wiccan sort of name for it is Maban. And as I said, Tropical Storm Ophelia, which came onto land yesterday. Where the hell did that come from? Sorry, like my blood all of a sudden. I don't know why I have it on there, but oh well. They came on shore early this morning, whatever, and then has been rolling up our stuff. As I said, it didn't affect us in any way, and it affected more the coastal stuff coming up the Chesapeake Bay right now. It's still moving, so we are supposed to still get a lot of rain. As I said, right now it's just a steady soaking rain, which is what we kind of need right now because we've been sort of in a drought situation. So, but nothing, no, the winds were heavy for a while, but nothing outrageously heavy. And then it's sort of died off now. So there's really not any wind, not any really pouring down rain. It's just a real steady rainfall going on right now. So to me, it was a bust because, again, the weather people, they blow it all out of proportion and they describe how it's going to, like, impact our lives and destroy us. It was a storm. It was a rainstorm. And another good example of that was today was also Pokemon Go Community Day. It was Grubbin Community Day. So with the knowledge before I found out that it wasn't going to be quite as bad, I figured instead of walking, just in case it just happened to rain or is raining, I would take my car and I would drive around the area. Excuse me. And hit the main spots. There's a temple near us that does really well with that, right up there on Main Street. You find the right spot, you're going to get a bunch of Pokestops and a bunch of Pokemon there. There's a bunch of gyms nearby, and also went down to Hannamore Park, which is your local park. That was really when the heaviest rain sort of hit, was when I was down Hannamore Park. And they had a bunch of Pokestops also, and then just sort of drove around for a little bit. But that was really about it because I was by myself. My wife and daughter went up to do a merit badge thing up at Broad Creek. So, and they had no rain at all up there until they were coming home. So that was good for them as well. So good on that. It was, so as I said, kind of down, and we'll see what happens. I'm starting to doubt turning down my dad. My dad, my stepmother has pneumonia, and he and her and my dad were going to go to the Ravens game tomorrow against the Colts, and she's getting better, so she's out of the woods. But you don't want to put her out into a potentially damp, rainy weather after just suffering through pneumonia. So he sent me an email on Friday to see if I was interested in going to the game with him on Sunday, because we used to do that all the time. And at that point, I had a really shitty week, which I'm not going to get onto here. I was thinking about it, but I'm not going to get into it right now. And still at the time, still fear that they're still talking about the rain still might be lingering through tomorrow. So it's not like this is just going to blow out here overnight and be gone. Supposedly the rain is supposed to still linger around a little bit. But again, everyone is now downgrading it. All the weather people are like, oh, well, it might not be as bad as we thought it was. So whatever. So, but yes, we did that. And it was very successful just doing it that way. I mean, might not have gotten the kilometers I was supposed to do the walking, but I did get, I did do 3 gyms, and I did get 11 shinies just for real quick in the car, not really walking around stuff. So I think I did pretty good there. And I got a good amount of grubbing, and I'm happy with my stuff. And that was that. So it was good on that. Doctor Who released their epic new trailer for their specials coming out in November, and it is absolutely outstanding. Looks amazing. A lot of fan speculation was answered in this trailer. It is a really good one, and it's really getting me excited to go see. It's more dark and action-packed than you're used to seeing, so should be a lot of fun. And Neil Patrick Harris looks like he's going to be absolutely terrifying as the villain. So could be a lot of fun here. So we'll take a look at that later. Locally, the Baltimore Orioles, my baseball team, they clinched a playoff spot on Sunday, last Sunday. And their magic number now is 5 games. They win 5 more games. Or if the Tampa Bay Rays lose 5 games, we are going to clinch the division. miss the wild card. I think we go into the playoffs after that. So that'll be a good if we can do that. We've been struggling as of late, but we won today. Our bullpen has been taxed, but John Means on his second start after coming back from being a year and a half off with Tommy John surgery, pitched 7 1/3 innings of 1-hit baseball, 1-hit 1-run baseball, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, and the Orioles were able to close it out, and we won 2-1. So that was a good win, and it gave the bullpen a little bit of a chance to rest a little bit. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. And then they have a rest day, finally their first rest day in about 20 days. And then the final 6 games of the season are at home in Baltimore. So they're at home, and they are against 2 against the Nationals, 4 against the Red Sox, and then we go to the playoffs. So playoff baseball is coming to Baltimore. We don't know how it's going to be just yet. Depends on how these last 7 games of the year play out. But as I said, our match number is 5. We win 5, or the Rays lose 5. We will be the division champions. So hopefully things are looking up, and we won a game, so we have not been swept again. So this is the 89th straight series that the Orioles have not been swept in. So they've won at least 1 game in every series in the last 89 series, going back to last May. So May of 2022 is when I meant last May, not 2023. So very impressive. And keeping that up. The Ravens went into Cincinnati, and all the pundits expecting Cincinnati to have a bounce-back game. They looked terrible week 1, and the Ravens came in there, and they took care of business. They made it closer than they usually should have, but it's a division game. The Bengals play a lot tougher against the Ravens anyway. The Ravens won 27-24, are currently 2-0, and lead the division by 1 game. The Browns lost to the Steelers. So the Browns are 1-1. The Steelers are 1-1, and the Bengals are 0-2. So it's a good thing. As I said, we have our game tomorrow against the Colts. So we were going to play against their rookie quarterback who started for them, but he got injured last week. So we're playing against journeyman Gardner Minshew, who can have certain games where he is spot on perfect and other ones. So this is going to be probably another tight one. It's not going to be a gimme. And plus, if the weather is still kind of messy as people are expecting it to be, it could be problematic. So we'll see what happens. Loki, the TV show on Disney Plus season 2, is moving to debut on October 5th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. They've been playing with that with this the Ahsoka show, where they were doing it sort of like, it's like a weekly TV show. Instead of it just being dropped at like 2 a.m. and you can watch it whenever you want to, it does not get dropped until a specific time. In this case, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And that's when you'll be able to see it. So every episode will be dropped at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So that would be good. So that's coming up here very, very shortly too. Blue Beetle will be coming to Blu-ray on October 31st, which is Halloween. So good on that. Pauly Shore, who was a big-time early 90s comedian sort of person, has been disappeared after a while, wants to come out of retirement to play Richard Simmons in a biopic, and he looks like Richard Simmons, and hopefully he would have the acting chops to play it. So we will see if that actually occurs. I don't think it probably will, but it would be interesting to see that. Peter Dinklage is starring in the new remake of The Toxic Avenger, and Elijah Wood is playing the bad guy. So the first reviews of it have called it very good remake, excellent. And some of the first pictures from behind-the-scenes stuff is showing Dinklage in a typical like superhero sort of mask, and then Elijah Wood looking like Gollum as the bad guy. So we'll see what happens. Mean Girls, the musical movie, which was going to be set to go directly to streaming, they have decided to let's put it in movie theaters first to see if it makes any money there. It will hit movie theaters on January 12th, 2024. So they want to see if that's going to be good because movie theaters are coming back, and they're hoping that maybe that'll help bring some money back in there. A zoo records the birth of a spotless giraffe. It could be the only solid color giraffe in the world right now. So that's kind of interesting as well. And the JWST Space Telescope detected the first evidence of carbon on Jupiter's moon of Europa, which is continuing to prove that there very well could be a frozen ocean under the surface of Europa, and that could be a form of life could be living there too. It's the first time they've noticed carbon. And the picture of Europa from JWST shows a white area across a blue sort of moon thing. It's a really nice looking picture. That's where the carbon is coming from, which is where they're thinking that there are bits and pieces where the ice is cracking and the water is coming up and the carbon is coming out from that. So to be continued, there are going to be people sending satellites and rovers and stuff like that to Europa within the next 10 years or so. So we should have more information about that coming up, but it's still kind of cool to see that. Speaking of space, Comet Nishimura, which was a comet that was just recently discovered, and last weekend was the best time to see it here with the naked eye, and then it's on its way to spin itself around the sun, and then will not be back this way for about 400 years. Anyway, Comet Nishimura was photobombed a NASA spacecraft picture that there's a spacecraft that is studying the sun, and they took a picture of the sun, and in the background is a photobomb of the comet. So Comet Nishimura, as it's starting to head its way around the sun. So that was kind of a really kind of cool there. Football players dating famous people. Locally, Odell Beckham Jr., the free agent pickup that the Ravens signed this year, is now injured and probably won't be playing tomorrow, but hopefully will be playing here soon, is allegedly dating Kim Kardashian. Wonderful. And Travis Kelce is rumored to be dating Taylor Swift. So those are two really high-profile football players dating high-profile women. So we'll see how that goes. The Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing is really blowing people's minds. It's a picture of her coming off of the team airplane with Travis. So that started putting out more and more. Also locally, John Waters, director. I told you my encounter with John Waters. He's a local guy who's lived here his whole life, made lots of movies in the area, filmed a movie at my high school after I'd left. And still lives in the area, and he also has a house out in California too, and he's written a couple of books and stuff like that, and does all kinds of crazy, wacky kind of stuff. My John Waters story was I saw him coming out of a grocery store, and I was working for the radio station at the time. We were giving away free pumpkins, and I shouted, "Hey, Mr. Waters, would you like a free pumpkin?" And he turned, smiled, and said, "No, thank you, I'm good," and then walked away. So that was my encounter with John Waters. He finally got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So congratulations to him. So good job. Tim Allen of late has been very Republican conservative asshole, and his TV show, The Santa Claus, is based on the hugely popular movie series, released their first season last Christmas. And I was excited to see it, but then he made the comment that threw some conservative stuff into it, saying he can't even say Merry Christmas anymore, which is utter bullshit. Made its way into the show. So I said, I'm not going to fucking watch this trash anyway. But enough people did that a second season is due out, and they have the announcement for it. The second season is now due out on Disney Plus on November 8th. So yippee-ki-yay for that. I talked about that last week. We had the picture from the guy from Modern Family who's playing the bad guy in it. So they had a picture of that from there. So that's moving right along there. Taika Waititi is still writing his Star Wars movie, despite the fact that everybody's saying that he's not and that he's washed up and blah, blah, blah. He's still, as of now, still writing his Star Wars movie, so we'll see how that goes. Keith David will voice Spawn in the Call of Duty video game. Apparently, Spawn will be a character in Call of Duty. There was a rumor that Spawn might make an appearance in Fortnite as well, so we'll see if that comes true. But in this case, he is going to be showing up in Call of Duty, and Keith David, who voiced him, I believe, in animated show that was out back in the late 90s or mid 90s, something like that. We'll be revoicing him again. Last weekend was the was Batman weekend, or Batman Day rather, was last Saturday. And this news came a little too late. I guess it came out of Batman Day, but David Goyer, who was the writer of the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, said there were plans for a fourth movie, which would continue to follow Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, who was going to become the new Batman. And he was going to take on the Riddler, who was my favorite Batman character. Batman villain, I should say, and that Leonardo DiCaprio was potentially going to be approached to see if he wanted to play the role of the Riddler. And I don't hate the casting idea, but I'm not in love with it either. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But that was some big news about that. I guess I'll talk about it now since this does lead into it real quick. So I'll check that off too. After much goading from my friend Mike, and just finally getting the chance to do it, myself, my wife, and my daughter sat down and watched the first 3 episodes of Netflix's live-action One Piece show. We don't know anything about the manga or the anime really too much because it's just so much. And so we had nothing going into it. We didn't have any ideas. Weren't going to be anything that we could be angry with if we thought that they did a terrible adaptation of it, whatever. Regardless of what we've seen in the first 3 episodes, there are 8 of them, so we've got 5 more to watch. We have come to the conclusion that we actually really, really like it. It is a very good series, a lot of fun, just really good special effects, good storyline. It's your basic kind of plot. They're getting the gang together and they're facing a new baddie every week that seems to have superpowers, which is the only thing that's kind of a little off-putting, but that's okay. That happens. But it's still kind of entertaining, and it's a very good cast. And this episode, the 3rd episode, ended on a cliffhanger, so we'll have to wait and see. We'll see if we'll watch it tomorrow, or we might wait. I don't know. We'll see. We'll pop in there sometime eventually. We got to also share the TV with my son and stuff like that, so we'll see how things all work out. We'll get caught up and stuff like that. But really, really enjoying live action One Piece so far, and so glad that it's getting a 2nd season, which I mentioned last week. Part of that 2nd season is the potential that Jamie Lee Curtis has shown interest and has been in discussions with the casting director of One Piece Season 2 to be cast in a live action role coming up in the 2nd season. It's a character that we haven't seen yet, obviously, but if you've read the manga and seen the anime, you know who it is. So we'll see if they bring her live action version to the screen. About that. So good. Doritos Baja Fiery Mango Doritos are coming in 2024. We actually got a bunch of information about stuff that's coming out in 2024, and that's one of the first new flavors we got that's coming out there. So we got some soda news coming up later in the show, but that's kind of neat. Nippon TV has acquired Studio Ghibli and is going to turn it into a subsidiary of Nippon TV. I don't know what that exactly means, but they now own the rights to Studio Ghibli and all the movies and characters and stuff like that therein. Santa Has a Chainsaw and R.L. Stine's upcoming comic Stuff of Nightmares sleigh ride. So it's always good to see psychotic Santas coming up here. But before we get to Christmas, we've got ourselves Halloween. Hell House LLC Origins trailer came out. I don't know much about that. I didn't watch it because it didn't interest me, but there you go. It's coming up there. Let's see what else. Bodies, a Netflix limited series coming out October 19th, has 4 detectives in 4 different time lines with 4 different crime scenes and 1 victim. So that premise alone sounds kind of interesting. So we might have to check that out. on October 19th on Netflix. No One Will Save You trailer, a home invasion film with a twist. It's aliens who are invading the home and not just some psychotic, crazy people invading a home. But this time it looks like it's a mid-20-year-old woman, looks like living by herself, has to survive a alien home invasion. So trailer is outstanding and is really creepy and been getting really, really good reviews. Guillermo del Toro actually tweeted out today how good it is, which if you are a director and you like Guillermo del Toro, you must be walking on clouds right now. Dark Harvest movie. I talked about it a little bit last week. Is about a killer scarecrow. I didn't know this until this week. That is based on a novel that I actually have on my Amazon list. That is official. So if you want to know what the movie's about, go ahead and buy the book called Dark Harvest. The movie will be out either on Shudder. Don't think it's coming out in theaters, Shudder, or one of these other like streaming services in October sometime. Boudica, Queen of War trailer with Olga Kurylenko. I don't know much about that, and I didn't really watch because it didn't really interest me, but it sounds like it looks like a high action sort of fantasy sort of crazy thing. The Caine Mutiny court martial trailer with Kiefer Sutherland, and it was William Friedkin's last film. The trailer came out this week as well. Season 5 Fargo teaser trailer popped up this week as well. Season 5 of Fargo will be out November 21st on FX. And the first trailer for Grisella, which I talked a little bit about last week, about the housewife who becomes a leader of the cartel, gets Sofia Vargas, I guess, from Modern Family, is the star of that one, is coming January 25th on Netflix as well. All the Strangers trailer also came out this week. Paul Mescal, Andrew Scott. Again, didn't really see much about it, wasn't very interested about it, but there it was. And the conference, a team building conference, turns into a nightmare. Netflix horror comedy is due out October 13th as well. Don't know much about it. They just released the poster for that. Old Dad's trailer, Bill Burr, who's not one of my favorite comedians, but he directed this movie that's coming out here soon too, but the first trailer's out there as well. New animated series Blue Eye Samurai is coming to Netflix November 3rd, so you can check all that out as well. Dr. Seuss will be expanding into comic books. James Kolchaka and Art Balthazar are two of the artists who are going to be doing graphic novels based on the Dr. Seuss stories. We're going to learn more about that at New York Comic-Con, which is coming up here in a couple weeks. So that's good. Yeah, I really don't like this flavor. It's getting stronger as they get down to the bottom of it. Speaking of stuff coming out in 2024, Liberty Brew, which is Mountain Dew's July 4th drink that came out this year, will be returning in 2024, but it will not be alone. It will be bringing two new July 4th Mountain Dews, Freedom Frenzy and Star Spangled. Don't know if they're going to be available to everybody or exclusives. We don't know, but those are all stuff that are popping up. Also, Game Fuel from Mountain Dew should be coming out in November here once Voodoo leaves the shelves. Game Fuel is coming back with their cherry limeade flavor Mountain Dew and a new one, some sort of fruit berry punch sort of thing going this week, this time around. And then next year, they're going to bring a midnight something flavor also is Game Fuel is coming out next year. So there'll be some new Game Fuel flavors coming out from Mountain Dew here in the next couple of years as well. Costco Monopoly. Everyone has a Monopoly, so why not Costco? There you go. You have a Costco Monopoly. Last week we talked about Spirit Halloween Monopoly. So now we have Costco Monopoly, which is actually selling pretty well apparently. And I discovered this last year, talked about it a lot last year, talked a little bit about this about a week or so ago. Fat Bear Week returns October 4th through October 10th. For those who don't know what Fat Bear Week is basically at this one national park, I believe up in Alaska or at least in Washington State or something like that. And the park rangers have a bunch of their bears on trail cams and know where they're going to be and stuff like that. So they're going to vote on who has got the biggest chonk getting ready for hibernation, and they will pick a winner. It's going to be sort of like the college basketball madness stuff. So it's really kind of cool and it's kind of neat. So that's what went through here soon. Anniversary this week, Seven, David Fincher's debut film, came out. Actually, not debut film. Alien 3 was his debut film, but Seven was one of his better films. Came out 28 years ago this week. Dog Day Afternoon, Al Pacino, and I forget the actor's name, but he played Fredo in Godfather. And Godfather Part 2 was also in The Deer Hunter, and was Meryl Streep's love of her life, and he passed away way early. Because those are like the only movies he's done. They've all were Oscar award-winning ones. Dog Day Afternoon came out 48 years ago this week. And death, Mark Margis, a former quarterback, died this week as well. This is why I don't like doing it this late, because I get tired even with the Coca-Cola. I like doing it like on Sunday or on prime time on Saturday, but we were watching One Piece and football is tomorrow, so I can't do it then. So gotta fight my way through here. So here we go. Quentin Tarantino to cast John Travolta in his final film. So coming full circle, basically. Now Quentin Tarantino, broke it big with Reservoir Dogs, but was his hugest and biggest, most popular movie is still Pulp Fiction, and that was Travolta in there as well. The original Halloween novelization by Richard Curtis will be re-released this year. That's the novelization of the 1978 John Carpenter film. And it has some other stuff that wasn't in the movie as well. That I hope John Carpenter approved, but no one has ever read the novelization of it because it's been out of print forever, but it's now coming back into print this year. So that would be kind of cool for everyone who likes that kind of stuff. Amazing Spider-Man director Mark Webb will be directing a Bermuda Triangle movie. I think it's the same one that's sort of been making the rounds in Hollywood for a while. He has signed on to make it. Dark Winds, the TV show based on the books by Tony Hillerman, is being renewed for a third season, so that's good for that. Toxic Waste Slime Liquors, which is probably what I should name this episode, is a new candy, which sounds kind of awful because it has strawberry sour, which is okay, filled milk chocolate bar. So basically, you bite into this milk chocolate bar, you get a strawberry sour flavor. Doesn't sound right to me. And there's also a blue Riz. Of course, Riz is the popular phrase now for kids my son's age. Is a blue raspberry sour filled milk chocolate bar. So sounds kind of disgusting, but they are out there. Encounters, the Netflix documentary series about UFO phenomenon, I think Steven Spielberg's involved with it, will be released this upcoming week, September 27th. It's 4 days from now, so I'll probably be able to watch a little bit of that on Thursday when my kids are at Scouts. Beacon 23 is Lena Headey's sci-fi drama, is set for MGM Plus. Lena Headey was in Game of Thrones. This is her new show. The Kill Room trailer brings Uma Thurman back to the big screen, where she's working opposite her daughter Maya Hawke and Samuel L. Jackson, and it's basically about a drug-addicted art museum person who runs the art museum, curator, I should say, is the name, played by Uma Thurman, whose art museum is losing money, but she makes a deal with Samuel Jackson's drug dealers to get get paintings and put them up in her museum. Get paintings from his staff, put them up in her museum, and they'll pay for them as well. That way, it's the way they're laundering their money, so nobody can catch it, and then they can try to sell it and make a profit for it. And so, this one artist who's on Samuel Jackson's crew is really, really good at what he does. So he becomes a hit, and so he starts wanting to think about maybe trying to leave the organization. But then we discover that he's been using real human blood and skin and stuff like that for his paintings. So it's all kinds of a dark comedy sort of thing. But yeah, that's coming out. But you get to see Uma actually acting opposite her mother. She's Maya acting opposite her mother, Uma. Maya has acted in front of her father a few times, Ethan Hawke. So this will be the first time I've seen her act in front of her mother. So that's pretty cool. Scientists working in Antarctica have unwittingly created a new accent. It's more on the people who spend the time over the winter period, where there's a lot of indoor time and conversation there like that, but they have created their own Antarctic accent. So that's kind of cool that a new accent has finally popped up here. Oppenheimer, yes, Barbenheimer was huge in mid-July, and both Barbie and Oppenheimer have been huge money makers, and they're still making money left and right. Oppenheimer has now become the highest grossing biopic of all time, passing the Freddie Mercury biopic that came out not too long ago. There's Bohemian Rhapsody, I think. I finished that awful stuff. So that doesn't sound awful. Sunkissed Strawberry Orange Soda. I think I mentioned it last week, but here I got an official look at it. It will be coming soon also, as will Canada Dry Fruit Splash with Cherry Ginger Ale, which sounds pretty good. Will also be coming out here soon too. M&M's chewable bark, or chocolate bark, is now available at Costco. So that's good there. Percy Jackson, the TV show coming to Disney Plus on December 20th, released a longer trailer this week. It looks absolutely phenomenal. It looks like they know what they're doing. It's a great job. So that's awesome. So congratulations. 2 episodes of Percy Jackson will air on the 20th of December. So that'll be good to catch that as well. Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry are reteaming in the animated horror comedy retelling of Oscar Wilde's The Canterville Ghost. Trailer for that came out this week. Art looks like typical sort of British sort of art, and it looks entertaining, I guess. Street Taco Pringles are the first new Pringles flavor that I will talk about. The next one I will talk about in a little bit. I need to tease a little bit something here, but the Street Taco Pringles will be coming your way soon. Could be pretty good, I guess. The Tampa Bay Rays baseball team finally has a new stadium coming in 2028. The money has finally been put in place, and they've got the location, and they're going to start building it as soon as possible. The Tampa Bay Rays have been playing in Tropicana Field since their inception, and it is one of the worst stadiums in all of Major League Baseball. But now Tampa Bay, because of their success and because finally they've got the money, they will be building a brand new, nice-looking stadium that will not be Tropicana Field, unless Tropicana buys the rights to that as well. Aliens Bishop is a novel that's based on the character of Bishop from the Aliens and Aliens 3 movies. And this book will fill in the gap between, would be a sequel to Aliens and Alien 3 to see all about Bishop and what makes him tick and the person who created him and so on and so forth, because we learn about Bishop, the robot in the original Aliens, the sequel that James Cameron did. And then he was unceremoniously killed off in the third one, but then his creator came back and sort of talked about him and stuff like that in the third one. So we're going to find out more about that coming up. Odd pictures from a newspaper in Britain shows a riderless bike crossing a street. People believe a ghost may have been riding a bike across the street because it was upright, moving perfectly across the street with no rider on it. So that's kind of interesting. The final season of Doom Patrol, it's the fourth season, has been divided into two parts. The first part came out already. The second part is now due out sometime in October on Max. And then that will be the end of the Doom Patrol era on Max. So there's that. Mickey and Friends Trick or Treats is a new Disney animated cartoon due out October 1st on Disney Plus. So Disney's getting into the Halloween spirit here early. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, a new trailer for the Hunger Games prequel released this week. It still looks pretty good. And hey, Peter Dinklage popped up again in that one as well. NASA's Ingenuity helicopter has broken an altitude record on its 59th solo flight on Mars. So congratulations to that. Dinosaur camping tents is a newest thing right now. It's a giant dinosaur that is actually also a tent that you can sleep in as well. Brian Michael Bendis has a new comic with Alex Maleev coming from Dark Horse called Masterpiece. That's due out in December. This past week, I went to the comic book store for the first time, and it has to be almost a year. I went on Free Comic Book Day, so that might have been the last time, actually, in May. Got some new stuff, including Wolverine versus Predator and Wonder Woman #1. So that's pretty good. So we'll see what happens. I might be popping. There's some other good stuff popping up here soon, so I might be going to get that. Again, keep an eye on things. So we'll see how that all comes about. I just need to read it now. Speaking of comics, Hellboy, Web of Weird is a video game that's been in the works for a while, but the first few minutes of the playback have been leaked, and the game is due out October 4th. And the game looks like a comic, really. Does not look like any other type of video game we've really seen before. This actually looks like a real comic book, and you get to control Hellboy, so it looks kind of cool. So I'll see if it's on the Switch. If it is, that might be something good to get for Christmas time. Stranger Things, The First Shadow is a Stranger Things prequel stage show that'll be on various stages around the area, and it has cast all their main characters. As I said, it's a prequel, so it takes place before the actual Stranger Things storyline has occurred. Sagamore Spirits, this is local news. The owner of Under Armour, who lives in Maryland, actually his house is right down the street, right down the street, but about 10 minutes from my house. And he opened up Sagamore Spirits, where he created a new whiskey. Well, his distillery has been sold to an Italian company. I guess they said they wanted it. He said, well, we'll see. What do you got to offer me? They offered him a good deal. I was like, yeah, I'll take that money. So there you go. Pumpkin Spice Red Vines. Red Vines are a lesser version of Twizzler, but they now have a pumpkin spice flavor as well. 100 Wiener Dog Race, in which the 100 wiener dogs are dressed as hot dogs, occurred, I think it was Wyoming or something like that. Not Wyoming, Wisconsin. So that just happened this week. So we got pictures of that. It's adorable, as you expect. Icelanders are throwing baby puffins off of cliffs and into the ocean to save them. Apparently, a lot of baby puffins get distracted by the cities and towns where, their parents' nests have been, and when the parents leave or whatever, the babies go the opposite way. They're supposed to go to the water, but they go the opposite way into the town, and people see them and say if they don't get back to the water, they're going to die. So a lot of them grab them and toss them into the water, and they are thankful for that. So that's kind of a interesting little thing to do. It's not abusive if you see that. It is just what they do. Anniversary this week, we have Underworld, which is the luscious Kate Beckinsale as a vampire taking on and falling in love with a werewolf who is her sworn enemy. It's a 20-year-old movie. And that was the only anniversary I have this week on that page. Next page. ESPN announces plans for a Toy Story themed alternate broadcast to October 1st's Atlanta Falcons Jacksonville Jaguars game. It'll be a fully animated real-time video set in Andy's room. So that's going to be an intriguing alternate broadcast for football to see it in the form of a Toy Story Pixar film. So, and it's going to be real time. So it's not just be like some made up stuff. It's going to be like, oh, okay, this is actually happening. This is what's going on. So I have no idea how they're going to do that because you got to animate the characters. Does that take some time? I don't know. So we'll find out. Talked about Fat Bear week is coming up, but before then, a black bear was spotted in the Magic Kingdom. Yes, a black bear was spotted going to Disney World, and eventually I think he's gotten taken out, but he was wandering around Disney World for a while there. So that's kind of interesting. Netflix has ordered a sequel to Troll, the Swedish kaiju film about a giant troll. So you're going to get a sequel to that coming up here soon. Chucky Season 3 is coming out, I think, October 4th as well. The Season 3 trailer popped up this week. Our Flags Mean Death, the Taika Waititi pirate comedy action-adventure, is entering its second season, and the trailer for that popped up this week as well. Dream Scenario trailer. This is one I talked about a couple weeks ago, wondering what it actually is about or what it was going to look like. But it was Nicolas Cage acting in an A24 movie, and Nicolas Cage is in the movie Dream Scenario. His character is appearing in people's dreams, and he doesn't know why, because he's not aware of being in these people's dreams. As far as I know what the story told me. So we got our first trailer for it, and it looks just as good as it sounds. So could be an interesting one to watch. I think it's coming out the same day as Captain Marvel, the Marvels, Captain Marvel 2. I'm taking that day off, so I might be able to see both of those at the movie theater if it's the same one. Speaking of Captain Marvel and the Marvels, the MCU the MCU Trivia Pursuit Ultimate Edition is out now. It's going to be focusing on questions on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that could be a fun one to play. Katy Perry has sold her music catalog for $225 million to the Carlyle Group. So all her music is now owned by the Carlyle Group, no longer owned by her. They can do whatever they want with it now, but she got a cool $225 million for it. 13-foot Jack Skellingtons are back in stock now at Home Depot. So if you missed out in the first round of them, go ahead and get it again. Hostess Spook Twinkies and Hostess Scary Cakes are new Halloween-themed treats coming out here. Scientists have named 3 species of spiders after Star Trek characters, including a Captain Kirk one. Red Panda Cub, the first born at the San Diego Zoo in 20 years, arrived this week as well. Ang Lee is going to be directing the Bruce Lee biopic, which will be starring Bruce Lee's other son, not Brandon, the other one, because Brandon unfortunately passed away, as Bruce Lee. And Ang Lee says that the story will be focusing on Enter the Dragon, which is the last film that Bruce Lee filmed before his untimely death. So that could be an interesting thing to look at. Good Burger 2 to go direct to streaming in November on Paramount Plus. Netflix acquires Richard Linklater's new film Hitman with Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona for $20 million. Richard Linklater is a director of one of my favorite trilogies, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight trilogies, as well as Dazed and Confused and the Newton Boys and was Living Life, I guess, was one. And he's done a bunch of them. I can't think of a lot of them right now. Slacker's another one, I think, also. So They bought it for $20 million, so they saw something good at it, and it'll be appearing on Netflix here soon. Count Chocula chocolate cookie sandwiches, ingredient boxes so you can make them, are out now. Oscar Mayer scramblers with Velveeta cheese and bacon are a new breakfast item that's out now as well. Miranda's Victim trailer with Ryan Philippe and Abigail Breslin, two names from the 90s, coming back again, was released this week as well. Local news, wagon wheels have been popping up and down all of Main Street. Nobody knows why here in Reisterstown, but we've got our answers. They are now bike racks. So if you have a bike, you can lock them up on these wagon wheels if you're going to take a walk up and down Main Street. Steve Martin, last week, Miriam Margolyes, who was in Harry Potter and was in apparently Little Shop of Horrors, wrote in her book that Steve Martin was absolutely horrendous to her during the filming of Little Shop of Horrors. She played one of his secretaries because he was the sadistic dentist. And she talked about how he, abused her and all kinds of stuff. Well, Steve Martin, as expected, defended himself, said that's not the case. That never happened, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, you think, okay, it's a he said, she said thing. But then you get Frank Oz, who is the director of it, saying, Steve's right. That never happened. So either he's backing up his buddy or what, I don't know exactly. But Miriam Margolyes also wrote in her book that she was approached by Tom Baker to be one of his companions on Doctor Who. So, again, don't know if that's true or not. Probably is. And finally, probably the best story of the week. A sound engineer descends into a 9-hour trip after fixing 1960s radio equipment that happened to be dosed with LSD. So basically, he discovers all this old 1960s radio equipment. He's a sound engineer. He's like, I'd like to go into this and try to see if I can fix it, get that old style sound back. So for just to see what I can do, found all this stuff. Didn't realize that the entire thing was covered in LSD, and it gets seeped in through your skin. And he went through a 9-hour LSD trip. It's a crazy story, and probably one of the best stories of this week. Death this week is Henry Bovell, NHL player, dead at the age of 72. A lot of anniversaries here on this section of the show. Garfield and Friends animated series came out in 1988, 88, 98, 2008, 2018, 35 years ago. Yes, 35 years ago. Goodfellas debuted 33 years ago this week. Fortnite Battle Royale debuted 6 years ago this week. Enya's wonderful album, I can't read my handwriting, her second album, one of her more popular ones with Orinoco Flow in it, is 35 years old this week. Rush Hour is 25 years old this week, the movie with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. The D&D animated series is 40 years ago this week. Up, REM's one of my least favorite albums, came out 25 years ago this week. And both Hellraiser and DuckTales came out this week in 1987. So, what is that, Enya? I got to get that name right because I love Enya and I can't, for the life of me, I cannot. Sorry, my Apple just updated. Oh no, other options. No. Back, other options. Don't upgrade. Okay, so I was doing that show. I had the update because I guess it happened at midnight. So there we go. So I have a new update there. So we'll see. But I can't even. But that came out. Water something or other. Let's see. Should I even try to look it up here? see. Watermark, that's what it was. So Enya's album Watermark came out, what was that? 35 years ago this week. All right, we're on my final page here. So this is another quick one here. There's a lot of stuff here on here, though. Pumpkin spice Ritz crackers are a thing, so it doesn't surprise me because pumpkin spice is everywhere. Spooky chicken nuggets are also out from Tyson's, so if you want to get your kids or yourself spooky chicken nuggets, you can do that now as well. Saw has the Saw series has a new movie coming out here in October, and the AMCs and all these movie theaters like to do theme boxes for their popcorn. They've got a Saw theme box coming up now with the head of Jigsaw, and you're eating the popcorn out of that. Butcher's Canyon trailer, which is Nicolas Cage's new Western, had its first trailer come out this week as well. The other Pringles flavor that I teased earlier in the show, the Everything Bagel, is due out here along with the Street Taco ones here soon. Lego will be making a Marvel Avengers film, short film, due out on October 27th on Disney+. The Washington Commanders, going back to the NFL this week, are also 2-0, my wife's favorite football team. I like them too. They're 2-0. They go and they play Boston. They play Buffalo at home, so it's going to be a tough game for them tomorrow. I should say today, since after midnight. Netflix to release the first ever adaptation of Roald Dahl's The Twits, since Netflix bought the right to all the Roald Dahl stuff. They will be doing an animated version of The Twits, which is due out not till 2025, so it's going to be a little bit of a hike, but it is the first ever Roald Dahl adaptation of the Roald Dahl book, The Twits. So it should see how that goes. Wonka is not moving to next year, so it will be coming out December 15th. It has a final runtime of 1 hour and 53 minutes, which is not bad at all. Millie Bobby Brown has written a novel, and she's also planning a movie adaptation of it. So we'll see how that all works out. The Air Force loses a $1 billion F-35 over South Carolina after the pilot ejected and no one can find it. So that's interesting. Coke and red wine is called a Kalimotexo, and it's one of the new drinks that people are trying now. And my sister, who is a wine drinker, thinks that's absolutely disgusting. And her son, my nephew, who was a waiter for a while, said, "Yeah, it's disgusting. Don't even try it." Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher made waves last week when they were talking about starting up their shows again and crossing the WGA picket line. But after the loud outcry, both of them have decided that they're not going to do that, and that's good for them. However, this week there have been good vibes coming. The distribution companies have asked the WGA back to the table to negotiate new terms, and I'm getting a lot of mixed signals here. They've been saying it's been pretty good discussions over about 2 or 3 days. They believe it's going to get done and it should be finished here very shortly. But then I just saw something that said, yeah, it's not as close as people think it is. So I'm getting all kinds of mixed messages, but for the most part this week, it's been very positive that the WGA strike was going to end here soon. I have not seen anything that says otherwise. Recently, right before I came on the show, there was a story saying that this looks like this might not be as close as people were saying it was earlier. So we'll see. When it comes, it comes. Time comes, it comes. The Crow reboot has officially going to be debuting in 2024, starring Bill Skarsgård. So we'll see how that rolls out. Spicy pickle flavored whiskey is a new thing. It's called the Pickle Rick whiskey. So we'll see if that's good there. Some local news. Harris Teeter stores here in Maryland are going to be sold to the Piggly Wiggly, which is one of the absolute worst names for a grocery store chain, but very southern. So we'll see. So hopefully we're going to have, not hopefully, but we'll probably have a whole bunch of Piggly Wigglies here soon. It's like, okay. Henry Cavill, apparently everybody in the world loves Henry Cavill. He's okay, but, I don't know why everybody loves him so much. Wants to do a movie adaptation of Red Dead Redemption, and I can actually see that, so that's good. That's good. And Lego did a Red Dead Redemption short film as well, which was really kind of cool looking. NASA's Perseverance rover captured drifting clouds just before sunrise on Mars, so that was kind of neat to see that. In Marvel Comics, the one big thing about comics is there's all these big crossovers, stuff like that. And that's sort of what burned me out from a lot of reading comics anymore, because you'd have to go, you have the main story, and then there's all these spin-offs that you have to read all these other books that you don't normally read. It's a way to make money and sell more books and to get people interested in a book that isn't selling that well. So that's what they do. Anyway, some of the best Marvel crossovers were ones that were not part of a major event, that just sort of popped up. Something just popped up in the middle of a comic. You're like, what the hell was that? A good example is the Scourge of the Underworld. Back in the 80s, there was a assassin going around and killing a bunch of lesser known villains with the classic Poom, Spack, Justice is Served. Poom was the sound of the explosive bullet being shot. Spack is the sound it made when it hit the villain and killed him. And then Justice is Served was the Scourge's phrase that he used. So you'd be reading a Marvel comic, reading a comic, then all of a sudden they'd cut to a scene with a villain escaping prison or whatever, and then all of a sudden this dude comes up to him who's in a disguise, shoots and kills him, says Justice Served, and leaves. And you're like, what the hell just happened? And then the story goes back to what you were reading. I was like, okay. And that was like saying Spider-Man. And then in the next week's Avengers, the Avengers are doing a battle, whatever. And then it cuts to another scene where there's another villain or whatever walking around or whatever. And the same thing happens. So it was sort of a crossover, but no one announced it was going to be in there. And it happened a lot. Eventually it came to a head in a 3-part, it didn't really come to a head, but it was a major part of the story came together in a 3-part story arc in Captain America. And then they went off and then they solved it in some weird way. And it was just lousy, but that's sort of happening again now, where in a bunch of different Marvel comics, we are seeing just little side bits about people getting upset and angry with the superheroes in the Marvel universe, destroying their buildings and their homes and their cars and the roads. And as they're fighting the villains to protect the city, they're getting sick of having to go out of their way to get to work or have their house destroyed and have to get it repaired. So you're getting to see how it is living in a town with superheroes. Now, Kurt Busiek's been doing that forever with Astro City, but this is a storyline that's been popping up in different Marvel comic books. Again, not part of a crossover, just here's little bits about showing that the people in the Marvel Universe are all pissed off at them. And supposedly it's going to come to a head in the new Sentry comic book coming out, where the power of Sentry is going to be jumping from regular person to regular person who thinks that they're angry at the superheroes. So they think with their superpowers, they'll be able to do a much better job than the superheroes that they are dealing with. So I like that kind of thing. Instead of just saying, you have to buy this issue, it's just something where you discover your own. Is like, oh, they don't like superheroes. Okay, that could just be, a typical little sidebar thing. And then you read another comic book. Oh my God, they said it again. And then again. So it's like, it's something that's building, but it's a completely different comic. So I like that idea. Speaking of comics, Mark Waid, who is one of the better comic book writers out there, has been working for at least 30 plus years, pissed off DC editors so much because his dream job is to write Action Comics. Superman's book, or write Superman in general, but Action Comics was like the one that he would really like to write. But DC editors and other people said they did not like either what his pitch was or his character, or I'm not exactly sure what the situation was, but they said, you're never going to write a Superman comic while I'm around. And that pissed Mark Waid also. He went to Marvel for a while. And then the regime change happened, and Mark Waid has gone back to DC and is actually writing Superman in the world's finest book with Batman. So he's writing Superman and Batman and getting some good stuff. He's also writing Shazam also. But his dream is still to write just Superman by himself, not with Batman, not with anybody else. And rumors are abounding that he will be taking over Action Comics in 2024 and getting his wish. So we will see if that actually occurs. If it does, I might have to start picking that up as well. Halloween, the movie Halloween with Michael Myers and Archie Comics have created a sort of crossover sort of poster, which is done in the Archie style. And you've got Michael Myers hiding behind the bush, and you've got the three Archie girls, Betty, Veronica, and one of the other ones walking away in sort of the same outfits of the characters in Halloween and being stalked by him. So that's kind of a neat idea there. Reese's Caramel Big Cups are coming soon. So Reese's Peanut Butter Cups have these double-sized Reese's Peanut Butter Cups that you can buy in single packs. And they're really good. They've been mixing them with everything. Reese's Puffs, potato chips, pretzels, all kinds of stuff. And they're all really pretty good. So now there's going to be a new one coming out in 2024 that's a caramel flavored one on top of a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. So I'm intrigued by that because I love caramel and I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So that could be very interesting. So before I do the last story, a couple of anniversaries. Jennifer's Body. 14 years ago, Megan Fox, Amanda Seyfried, and Diablo Cody's horror film came out 14 years ago this week. And For the Love of the Game, Kevin Costner usually does really good in sports movies, and this is a baseball movie. For Love of the Game has a really good premise. It came out in 1999, 24 years ago this week. Stars Kevin Costner, Kelly Preston, John C. Reilly, J.K. Simmons, and more. It's directed by Sam Raimi, which is not something that you would expect to see Sam Raimi direct because there's no horror aspects to it. But what the premise is Kevin Costner is an aging pitcher who's probably pitching his last game in the majors, has pitched for 30 some years. I should say 20 plus years, pitching in the major leagues for the Detroit Tigers. The last game of the season, they're out of it. They're not even going to be in the playoffs, and he knows he's probably going to get cut, so he's just going to probably end up retiring. So he's going to be pitching the last game of the year and his last game of his career probably. But his whole life is spiraling around him. So while he's on the pitcher's mound, we're flashing back to how horrible his life has been over the last couple months. And then we cut back to him, pitching and playing baseball. And what he doesn't realize, because his thoughts are on all the stuff that's happening in his life, he's throwing a no-hitter against the New York Yankees, which is one of the in that era is one of the best teams in baseball. And it's his never thrown a no-hitter, so his players are trying to get him the no-hitter, but he's still flashing back and forth to what's been going on and trying to figure out what's going to happen and flashing forward to the present day where he's on the mound and getting talks from his catcher, played by John C. Reilly, and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting film and very different from Sam Raimi's usual stuff, but worth a look, really. And finally, the final story of this first day of autumn, which I guess is now the second day of autumn, since it is now 12:47 a.m. on the 24th of September. It's first day of autumn brings spooky season with Halloween coming up here. So this is a new conspiracy theory that's made its way around that I just had to mention because I just have to shake my head at. Has Party City, the Party Cities, they sell Halloween costumes and all kinds of party accoutrements, stuff like that. But they're most famous for their Halloween. They have a huge Halloween costume section, and I buy lots of my costumes there, my accessories, stuff like that. And my kids bought their stuff from them when they were, dressing up. Has Party City been using real human skin for their clown masks? Now, their clown masks are these sort of rubbery, all full face sort of masks that you put on over your head. Obviously, you'll be able to have room to breathe, stuff like that. But the masks feel very flesh-like. So the rumor now is going about is that they find dead bodies or whatever, skin it, clean it, and create these masks that you put on over people's heads. Now, that alone is kind of creepy because it's clown masks particularly, and they're using real human skin because people are freaked out by clowns, and real human skin because the clown masks are so realistic feeling. So you got sort of that whole horrible, aspect, two major horrible things combined into one sort of thing. So that's why I don't believe it's really true, but it is the conspiracy that has been making its rounds lately in various ways and means. So I don't believe it, but I had to mention it because it is spooky season beginning this week. So That's it for this episode of Dylan Knows. Thanks for watching. Another sort of quick one here. Next week will be the last week of September, since I'll be doing it September 30th, more than likely, since the Ravens are still playing October 1st. So I'll probably be doing it September 30th. Nothing major, again, that I know of coming up this week. So don't know what we're going to be discussing, but here we are. We're going to be doing it. So we got one more weekend of September, and then we get into the best month of the year, October. So could be a lot of fun here. Thanks for watching again, and be safe out there, particularly if you live on the Atlantic coast here, where this rainstorm is flooding out all kinds of stuff and hitting us and getting steady rain and so on and so forth, which we do need, but just be careful out there. And that's all I got. That's all I have to say about that. So thank you for watching, and we will see you soon. I am out. Oh, yes. End.